Now it's time to get started. This week you will be creating two mini projects to introduce you to Arduino. The first project will be blinking a light with the Arduino. The second will be blinking a light and using a potentiometer to control the speed at which the light blinks. To get started, you will need a laptop, an Arduino, a USB cable, an LED, and a potentiometer. Let's take a look at the pins that are on the Arduino. On the right, we have digital pins. Digital pins can be used to sense whether something is on or off, or to turn something on or off. On the other side, we have analog pins. Analog pins can actually sense how much current is coming in. Analog pins can very precisely get a measurement from different kinds of sensors. There are two other kinds of pins that we're going to be using today. The first is 5 volt. This sends electricity out consistently, and it's often what's used to power electronic devices. The ground is where the electricity goes after it's gone through the electronic device, and that's what completes a circuit. To understand the circuit, let's take a look outside. So now let's talk about electricity. Electricity, we can think of it kind of like water running through a pipe. A battery contains electricity just the way this bucket contains water. So, when we plug a wire into a battery, the electricity will travel through the wire and then it will go back into the battery. The electricity comes out of the positive end, that's this part what's coming out of the bucket, travels through the wire, and then this would be the negative end where it goes back into the battery. In the bucket we can see all the electricity that's in the battery. In an Arduino, the principles are exactly the same. The only difference is instead of the electricity coming out of the positive end, it is coming out of one of the ports. Assume for a moment that this watering hose is one of the ports on the Arduino. It comes out, and then instead of going into the negative pin, it goes into ground. It's still a circuit, however, because the electricity then goes through the Arduino and comes back out of the ports. Now we have an Arduino circuit with an electrical component. The principle is still the same. It comes out of the pin, goes along the wire, into the device, then it goes out of the device, through the wire, and then back into ground. Let's see it in action. So here we have an electronic device. It is using electricity to do stuff, like light up an LED, or spray water across my yard. If we look over here, we see the electricity is still going back into ground. This completes the circuit. Note that there is less electricity going into ground this time because some of the electricity is being used up by the component. Now it's time to create our first circuit. For this, we're going to start by taking the LED and plugging it into the Arduino. Start by plugging the longer lead into pin 13 on the Arduino and the short lead into the ground, which is right next to it. So the first thing we're going to be doing is downloading the software that we use to program the Arduino. This is the software that we will basically use to write code and then upload that code to the little Arduino board, and that's what controls all the sensors and motors, and in this case the LED. So let's start by opening up Arduino and taking a look at the interface. This is basically the interface and where we are going to write the code. So it's time to get started actually programming the Arduino to blink a light. The first thing we're going to do is tell it which pin the LED is connected to, and then whether or not it's an input or an output. In this case, it's an output. Once we've done this, the next thing we want to do is we want to write the code to make the Arduino turn on the light and then wait a little while and then turn off the light. And then it will upload the code to the Arduino. At this point, the light should be blinking. Hiya! To demonstrate what we have just coded, I am going to be the Arduino robot, and I am going to act out our code that we just wrote. So, when we start, we establish the LED as an output. I don't have an act for that. And then we turn the LED on. Woof, woof, and we wait for 3 seconds. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, off. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, on. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, off. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, on. This is all fine and dandy, but what if we want to use something to control the LED? For this, we need something called a variable. To demonstrate how a variable works, I have my lovely assistant, Sophia! Sophia is going to be the variable, and I will continue to be the Arduino robot. Perfect. We have a variable, and we have the robot. So, the way a variable works is it holds the place of a number for a little while, and it can be any number. So, for starters, we're going to have Sophia hold the place of 2. So, now in our code, instead of saying wait for 3 seconds, we're going to say wait for variable. And the amount of time it'll wait for is, you can say it.
2.
2! Louder so they can hear you!
2!
Okay, perfect. So now, we're going to turn on the LED and wait for
2!
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Turn off the LED and wait for
2!
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Turn on the LED and wait for
2!
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Turn off the LED, and now it doesn't have to be 2. It can be any number. So now the variable is going to be
7!
7. So now it still says variable in the code, but now we're going to say turn on the LED and wait for
7!
1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi. Turn off the LED and wait for
7!
1 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. Turn on the LED and wait for
7!
And you get the gist. So, in our code, we're going to create a variable, and it's going to hold, in this case, the number that comes off of the potentiometer. So now, let's get started. So, first we want to wire the potentiometer into the Arduino. So, let's take the white pin and plug it into 5 volts. Take the pin on the other side, plug it into ground, and then we want to take this pin in the middle and plug it into analog 0. This here is the code that we use to control the LED with the potentiometer. It's very similar to the LED code we just made, except there are a few key differences. For starters, we're creating a variable, but now we're going to say that this variable is equal to this analog read, which is the signal that's getting from the potentiometer. Now, we're going to turn the LED on, the same as we did before, and we're going to delay, instead of delaying for a certain amount of time, we're going to delay for the reading off the variable. Turn the LED off, and then we delay again. And then it repeats. And that's all there is to it. Now, we should be able to control the speed of the blinking light using the potentiometer.